The Tale of Kuntur. After Qoyllor had returned to the skies, Ukuku, blinded by the sun's golden arrows, remained within the tribe, raising the still young Kuntur alone. All within the tribe knew why this had happened, and though they did not banish father and son, who had not saved each other to depend on, from their mist, they still feared and shunned them. Kuntur, who then could not even speak, became dragged into all this. Like his taciturn father, wheresoever he trod, the sun would retreat behind a thick layer of clouds, depriving the world of its light. Who then could say if the sun's ire would not also fall upon those close to them? None of the tribe's people dared to brave such misfortune. Kuntur grew all the same, unloved, though he was by the sun. Just as the fruits in front of his house were smaller by far than his neighbors, he was a weak specimen compared to other youths his age. This poor child never knew the touch of the warm sun upon his skin, so he was sickly pale as opposed to ruddy as his peers were, but his eyes shone like the stars, just like his mother's. It was those bright starry skies that had first drawn his father in, that had driven him to make his foolish decisions, bringing judgment upon himself.
Could any Iktomisaurus not like basking in the sun?
Kuntur asked Ukuku one day. Ukuku did not reply, and merely whittled his arrows in silence. Though blind, it was only natural for Kuntur to ask such questions, for in those days, which child of the tribe was not inseparably bound to their saurian companion? Kuntur thus wished for a companion of his own, but it was evident that no Iktomisaurus would willingly live in the shadows. Though they may be more active at night, we now know that they would never assent to being utterly deprived of sunlight. Kuntur searched long and hard, but he could not find an Iktomisaurus who loved not the sun to be his companion. As for Ukuku, his father and sole support, he only cared for hunting and feeding his son, giving no thought to saurian companionship. This was little wonder, for Ukuku's own companion had chosen to be Qoyllor's helper when she left the tribe, returning to the wilds with her. Ukuku had grown used to being without such a companion, just as he was now used to having neither sight nor sunlight. He even thought that Kuntur might also grow accustomed to this and cease asking, and so remained silent in response. Fortunately, Kuntur was only half alike to his father, or the story would have ended here. He was never the sort to take things lying down, and he was certainly not going to let people make him a laughingstock for failing to find an Iktomisaurus companion. All those children who mocked him received their due reply, albeit with fists rather than words. In the beginning, he was always lost, which was quite understandable. He was small, and his fists lacked strength, and as they watched him sit on the ground, dust and dirt caking his face, the children who laughed at him laughed all the harder. But slowly, they no longer did so. Nor did jokes at his expense come so freely from their lips, for they found that Kuntur learned quickly, and his strength surged in pursuit of theirs, such that his fists were persuasive indeed, even in the absence of a saurian companion. But Kuntur was not satisfied with merely reducing loud mockery into low murmuring. He knew now that his strength could at least force half-grown children to give the appearance of acquiescence. But he still lacked a saurian companion of his own, and remained unloved by the sun. Though many adults in the tribe were neither hostile nor friendly towards him, he did not like the looks in their eyes. And so, Kuntur decided to do something remarkable to prove himself. If he did that, no one would ever look down on him again. And surely, there would be a saurian willing to be his companion. His chance came soon. One day, an old man in ragged clothing came to the tribe asking for water. The people took pity on him, and one of them invited him into their home. "We're all kind-hearted people here. You must have come from a faraway place, dear guest, so stay and enjoy our hospitality." "Indeed, you're all kind people. In that case, treat me to the best you have. I'm starving over here." The master of the house did indeed provide the best food to the guest, but 7 days and 7 nights later, the guest was still not satiated. "Is there anything else?" "Well, is there? Now, don't be shy. Serve it all up." Master of the house would kindly ask the guest to leave, though not because he had nothing left to be eaten, but because he needed to consider his family and himself. "I've put him up and had him fed and feasted for 7 days, proving my kindness of heart. Now it's someone else's turn." Kindness is a pleasant word, especially when used to describe oneself. And so the tribespeople gave this ragged old man all manner of things, but none would satisfy his bottomless desire. In the end, all could do nothing but shake their heads, wave their hands, and ask him to depart. Only Kuntur's house did not entertain the old man. "You are a kind soul too. So, what will you host me with?" "No one's ever called me kind. I have nothing to share with you, and even if I had, I shan't give you any. You've eaten, drank, and taken more than enough." Seeing how Kuntur chased the old man away, many in the tribe could not help but ridicule him again. But none could have anticipated that this old fellow, dressed in tatters, was the infamous sorcerer Rumi in disguise. Those who had promised him hospitality, yet who could not satisfy his appetite, he bewitched with his dark arts. By the time they awoke from their nightmares, he had long since captured all their Saurians, leading them away. Many in the tribe had already heard the terrible rumors concerning Rumi, and while none could say what terrible schemes he meant to carry out with their Saurians, all knew that failing to stop him would bode ill. To seize their Saurians back, the tribe sent forth their 3 mightiest warriors to challenge him. They did not return. Even the best warrior is no match for the sorcerer Rumi without Saurian aid. And just as the tribe had lost their confidence, Kuntur stepped forth to volunteer himself. Yes, him, Kuntur, unloved of the sun, one who had never even gained a Saurian companion. Now, none believed he would succeed, but neither did any bar his path. Good thing I've got nothing to lose. At least he cannot take from me what I never had. Thus thinking, Kuntur set out on his journey with great confidence. As Kuntur made his way forward, Rumi's spell summoned up layers of mist to surround the warrior. He knew that Kuntur was hated by the sun, and so could count on no sunbeams to scatter the mist for him and light the way. But Kuntur had learned the hunting arts from his blind father since he was a boy. Though he was as good as blind, sounds and smells guided the way for him, and the magically manifested mists could not snare him. One ploy having failed, the sorcerer Rumi deployed another, sending forth 3 talking pakpakas to come before Kuntur with both threats and temptations. These 3 pakpakas were the 3 warriors of the tribe sent forth, who had each been defeated due to their own weakness and turned into this form by Rumi. They did not believe Kuntur, unloved of the sun, to be superior to them, and so they spoke the very deceptions Rumi had snared them with, attempting to trick Kuntur. But Kuntur would not fall to such trickery. His father had been punished for deceit and betrayal, and so he hated all lies most bitterly, and could always see through them at a glance. Having had their ruse exposed, the warriors were enraged and tried to block Kuntur's path, upon which he had no choice but to persuade them to step aside by force. Thus did Kuntur pass through numerous trials, until he finally found the sorcerer Rumi, and also laid eyes upon the captured Saurians. The sorcerer put his evil arts to use once more, attempting to frighten Kuntur, but even towering waves and running lava could not scare Kuntur, much less these illusory traps made through spellcraft, so akin to the fog he had encountered at the bottom of the valley earlier. His wicked spells had no effect on Kuntur, but the captured Saurians were not similarly immune, and so Rumi used his spellcraft to turn them into his service. Yet he did not expect even them to not be a match for Kuntur. "Your fists are tougher than the hardest stones I've ever seen." No one would want to go hand to hand against such fists, and Rumi was no different. Realizing that he was on the back foot, he no longer cared for the Saurians he had stolen from the tribe. Turning into a cloud of smoke, he fled in defeat. Capable through Kuntur was of discerning the sorcerer's traps and lies. He could do nothing against his foe now that he had turned into smoke. But how could he back down? He intended to prove himself to everyone in the tribe by doing this extraordinary thing. And so, he made up his mind to capture Rumi, no matter what it took or what he had to do. At that moment, he saw the still-bound Iktomisaurs, and he thought since Rumi had been able to command them using mystical arts, perhaps he might use force to compel an Iktomisaurus to help him track Rumi's down, pick out his manifestation. The poor creatures were still under the influence of the spell as he unshackled them, and so they struggled and screamed. It took Kuntur a lot of effort to calm them down, as to which, the bravest of the lot, Kuntur had recognized it at a glance. "Alright, now then, you're coming with me. You're going to track down Rumi to the sorcerer, for my honor, and also for the warriors who were turned into papakas." The Iktomisaur seemed unconvinced and tried to break free, but Kuntur held it fast, and they could not move. Yet looking into the creature's sad eyes made even fearless Kuntur shudder. Of course he could tame the Saurians this way. But were he to do so, how different would he be from the wicked sorcerer? No. So, after only a moment's hesitation, he made up his mind. Fly then. Go where you please. The Iktomisaur spread its wings and flew off the moment Kuntur let go, swiftly disappearing over the horizon. And so Kuntur went in pursuit of Rumi alone. The released Saurians could not speak human language, of course, and glory unwitnessed is no glory at all. Thus was Kuntur's first step on his journey to prove himself, also his most anxious one. For Rumi had transformed into smoke, drifting far away to places unknown. He had also heard the rumors that the tribe's storytellers and well-informed messengers had brought of Rumi, and guessing that he might turn into an animal to avoid pursuit, he wrestled long-necked rhinos and stared down grasshoppers all along his path. But to no avail. It seemed that without an Iktomisaur's companion's aid, the search for the sorcerer would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. But Kuntur had inherited more than just star-like eyes from Qoyllor. Just as his mother had once wandered the wilderness, searching tirelessly for star-shard traces, Kuntur too did not despair of the chase for Rumi, and the confidence he had set out from the tribe with never dimmed. Until the day he heard a familiar cry. It was that of an Iktomisaurus he recognized. Indeed, it was the one he'd released, the boldest in the tribe, the one who also lacked a companion. It had left him, but now it had returned. We don't know why it did so, but we can be sure that Iktomisaurs are most intelligent creatures who choose their partners. Surely then, Kuntur had earned its recognition, which is why it returned and willingly showed Kuntur the way. With an aid of an Iktomisaurus, even the wily Rumi was no match. The sorcerer even attempted to take a brown deer's form to escape Kuntur, only to find that the hunter was just as swift as he. On the brink of being caught, Rumi transformed into a capybara and dived into the water. How secretly pleased he was with himself then, for he thought that Kuntur might not be a good swimmer. Surely he would escape. Yet Kuntur's Iktomisaurus companion was not merely a brave, but blessed with wisdom as well. It flapped its wings in the air, summoning forth a cyclone. Kuntur rode that wind, and his footsteps grew swift and light, as if his feet had grown wings, giving him speed no less than that of Rumi, now a fast-swimming capybara. Shocked, Rumi leapt out of the water, transforming into a bird that immediately made for the skies above, which wasn't a good move if you ask me. If this had been Kuntur of yesterday, he would have no choice but to give up. But today, things were different. His Iktomisaur's companion carried him up and up through the clouds, and at last they caught his cunning sorcerer. Realizing that there was no way out, Rumi simply turned himself into a giant rock. Surely, Kuntur could do nothing about him now. Yet the young warrior grabbed that giant rock and would not let go, crying, "Fly! Higher, my friend! Higher!" And so higher and higher they flew, until they soared above the very highest cloud layer. And there, Kuntur beheld the sun for the first time. But before he could say anything, the sun brought forth cloud layers, more and thicker to surround them. Kuntur and his companion had no choice but to try and find a way out, bursting through the thunder, rain, and storms in the cloud layers as they went. The great heights were frigid indeed, with even Kuntur's eyelids swathed in frost, while the rock that Rumi had transformed into was frozen solid. Never again would his foul magic wreak havoc. Having overcome trial after trial, Kuntur and his companion returned to the tribe, telling everyone about their marvelous experience. After that, the stone that Rumi had turned into was placed in a suitable location. The three warriors who had turned into pakpakas by the sorcerer were themselves restored to human form. As before, they gave Kuntur a wide berth, but out of shame and regret rather than disgust and fear. For had they not thought then to use despicable lies to trick him? Thus did Kuntur prove himself to his tribe and win glory. But more importantly to him, he finally had an Iktomisaurus companion of his own.